So we have some Transformer toy news to talk about. We're going to put that aside and save it for a later date because we have some exclusive news that recently dropped from the Collider. They did an interview with longtime Transformers producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura, and he talked about what's going to be happening with the next Transformers movie in the wake of all of this positivity that we've gotten from Transformers 1 as well as the buzz and everything. And well, it's going to be a live action movie, but more specifically, the one that we kind of knew what was coming and planned out a while back of the G.I. Joe versus Transformers movie. He pretty much is confirming they're going full ahead with that. And I want to lay out some stuff, especially now that I've seen Transformers 1 and where I feel we should be going with the brand. I just want to kind of lay out stuff. So let's go to G.I. Joe for a second. And I want to specify, I love G.I. Joe. I'm an 80s kid. I grew up with G.I. Joe. Dusty's my boy. But my feelings don't matter when the facts are more important. So let's go to the facts here. G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, when it came out in 2009, that live action movie, it made money. It made money. Toy sales were pretty modest. They were pretty good. It lasted for a couple of waves. They folded in some other high-quality 3-inch G.I. Joe figures into that movie wave because it was doing so good. Rise of Cobra was A-okay. Regardless if you liked the movie or not, it made money and toy sales were good. You fast forward to G.I. Joe Retaliation in 2013, that one broke even. Didn't make money, but it didn't exactly do very well either. It kind of broke even because advertising was pretty heavy on it. They were doing a lot of press junket stuff and everything, and that kind of ate into the money that the movie did make, combined with the fact that toy sales were not good for this movie. And yeah, the toy sales had a terrible distribution problem, but I always say when people want the product, they find a way to get the product regardless of those distribution issues. Didn't stop people from getting Tickle Me Elmo, and to make it in Transformer terms, it didn't stop people from finding Beast Wars Cheetor in 1996 in a pre-internet and pre-eBay world. So people find ways to get those toys. You know, and when you have a movie like Retaliation, where you have Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, who was blowing up in Hollywood at the time. He was hot off the heels of the Fast and the Furious movies, his debut in Fast 5. And it didn't hurt that Bruce Willis was also in this live action G.I. Joe movie, considering that, you know, older mainstream audiences would be familiar with that guy. And not many people showed up. And like I said, it did make a little money, but it only made a little money. And combining that with the advertising and the promoting and the press junkets, along with the self-inserting in the low-tier award shows like the Teens Choice Awards to show trailers, the Kids Choice Awards to show trailers, the Golden Trailer Awards, yeah, that's also a thing. All that money went into the promotion and the advertising and ate up whatever little money the movie did make. And then you add the drama with how the toy sales were, and let's be real, Hasbro makes these movies to sell toys. It didn't stick the landing, and all those efforts were for naught. And then we have the Snake Eyes movie, which on a very modest $88 million budget, bombed and didn't even make half of that back. The movie made $40 million on its $88 million budget. And then combined with the fact that every Snake Eyes movie branded toy, be it mainline or the classified stuff, all ended up on crazy clearance and no one was buying that, and still could be found 3 years later after the fact, didn't help either. And like I said, the goal for Hasbro is to sell toys, and that's what these movies are meant to do. So that's kind of G.I. Joe's vibe right now with the mainstream audience. I'm not talking about the hardcore Joe fans. I'm not talking about people like me that buy the product and actually see these movies out of curiosity because we're fans of it. I'm talking about the mainstream audience that we need to win over. So right now, that's what's happening with the mainstream audience with G.I. Joe. They don't really care about the movies, and because they don't care about the movies, they're definitely not excited to buy the product. So you combine all of that, and then we look at Transformers. So what's been Transformers' mainstream kind of thing with movies in the recent? Well, the Bumblebee movie, that broke even. And toy sales were kind of rough on the mainline side of things. And that's why, like, we don't see masterpiece stuff of movie stuff right out of the gate, because the Bumblebee movie one had masterpiece stuff right out of the gate, and it didn't do well for it, so that didn't help. You look at Rise of the Beast, another one that pretty much broke even, much like with G.I. Joe Retaliation. It made money, but they had such a huge advertising campaign behind it that it ate up a lot of that extra money. Super Bowl commercials, Nick Bowl affiliations, other NFL affiliations, media scrums, a whole bunch of award show ceremonies to show off a whole bunch of things. It adds, it hurt the movie in a lot of ways, and all the money that was being made, Then you look at the toys and how badly those sold, which is a whole other topic in itself when you really want to dive into the specifics of it and why people didn't leave the theater and want a Cheetor figure. But the Rise of the Beast main line ended up going on deep clearance, and also a year later now could still be found lingering in Walmart today in red tags, begging to be taken home right next to the Transformer 1 toys today, with no interest in sight for the Rise of the Beast product. And, this is coming from someone who loves the Rise of the Beast movie. I actually kind of enjoy it. But, again, feelings don't matter against the facts. But you know what? I mean, business-wise on multiple levels, be it the film or the plastic toys, everything is being handled very badly. And now we have Transformers 1, where everything is now getting handled quite well. The movie is fantastic. The toys are very good. And with all that positivity that we have, here we have producer Lorenzo confirming that the next movie is going to be a live action one, and they're sticking with the original plan of a Transformers G.I. Joe movie. Originally, there was going to be a trilogy of movies for Snake Eyes, which didn't pan out because of how Snake Eyes did, and there was going to be a trilogy of movies for Rise of the Beast, which also didn't pan out because of how the ticket sales were and the returns were for Rise of the Beast. So I guess their logic is, well, these two didn't pan out, let's combine the two. And, well, it raises a bunch of questions. Is Anthony Ramos' character of Noah coming back? Is Mirage going to be coming back? Is Peter Cullen going to still be Optimus Prime in the face of Transformers 1? Probably, because Chris Hemsworth is supposedly going to be also a human in this G.I. Joe movie from what we saw from other reports. There's a lot of questions even with that, but even more so, people are worried about the cast being just too big by combining these two big brands, both Autobot Decepticons, Predacons, Maximals, whatever they're going to use on the Transformer side, and Joe and Cobra. Now, let's be real, having 8 Autobots in a movie that don't get any lines or screen time is not out of the norm for these live action movies now 17 years later, and yes, it's been 17 years now. Whew. But I mean, I imagine just the Joe characters will just get most of the screen time and the focus because they're the humans, they're the live action element of it. And the Autobots and the Decepticons will be the set pieces and movie props like they've always been in the past movies. The question is, will moviegoers even care? Is there still gas in the Transformers tank from the live action side? Obviously, the Transformers 1 tank is filling it up, but is that gas being wasted by it then going in a live action direction and then adding the G.I. Joe brand onto it that's been barely floating by outside of toy sales, really? I think it's a bit of a bad move, I'll be honest with you. I think, if Transformers 1 ends up being a big box office success for Paramount, and that also translate into amazing toy sales for the Hasbro side of things, I think they might need to pump the brakes on this G.I. Joe Transformer movie and focus more on that trilogy that they've been talking about for this animated group of films for Transformers. And let's be real again, those animated films cost way less to make. Way less. Rise of the Beast that just passed cost $200 million to make. Not counting even the advertising. Just the core of the movie itself was $200 million. Transformers 1 was a tiny $75 million. 200 against 75. Even the Bumblebee movie cost $110 million, which was supposed to be a smaller live-action movie piece compared to this live-action Transformers 1 movie. What do you think a G.I. Joe Transformers movie is going to cost? definitely in that Rise of the Beast territory of 200 million minimum. Considering you're bringing in Thor and probably a few other big names, definitely, for sure. Or you could look at Transformers 1 that costs 75 million and maybe go in that direction and continue doing it. It's pretty clear that the best direction would be for Paramount, if they need to evolve with the times with this brand, is to continue where Transformers began its roots, and that's animation. Look, hey Paramount, you got 17 years of live action movies out of this. There's no pride lost if you move to the animation side of it for a little bit to see how that works out. Disney made an empire on animation alone for near a century. And it's when they started looking at live action did they start to fumble the football. So maybe not make the same mistakes that the Twisted Mouse did, But we will see. We will see. Let me know what you think about this. I'm going to be going to see Transformers 1 again very soon with a group of friends. Got to convert them into the ways of the robots in the skies, because that's what I love about this movie. It's a good beginner piece for a lot of people that are not familiar with the brand. And that's another great thing about this movie, too, aside from everything else. But yeah, let me know what you think about all of this. And thanks again for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast. And as always, I will talk to you in the near future.